the end of the day.
It's Mel.
And me. You wanna know
How we did it.
You wanna know how we do it. You wanna know
How we
we're
doing
doing
it.
Welcome to the Mel Me podcast.
At the end of the day.
What's up, everybody?
What's up?
What's going on?
All right.
We here?
We
back.
see you beat me to it this time. All right. We are here for episode 18, and as everybody can probably see out there, we got a couple extra people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your eye look a little swollen.
It is.
So Mel is having some issues today. So, you know, if she's a little bit not her normal self, so that's why. But, you know, we trying to pull this off today because we got family down here
Yes.
this weekend to hang out with us.
Absolutely.
From the shy.
From the Chi
the
Town,
Chi.
of course. We can all see. We can see her representing.
Right.
Representing.
So yeah, but we kind of alluded to this last week that we were gonna have some family here. Of course, we were just with y'all only a week ago.
For Thanksgiving.
Right?
Thanksgiving.
For the
yeah,
holiday, we
yes.
had a great time as we always do.
Yes.
We've been up there for the last 3 years.
Yep.
Last
y'all
3
now,
years.
so it's kind of become a
3
little
years,
tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they decided to come down and hang out with us. Wasn't not necessarily a surprise, but we're here and we got a chance to go out last night. Y'all got in
Very
last
nice
night,
place,
and
yes.
we spent some time last evening having a really good time with some live music
Yes.
and stuff.
Yep.
So with that, today's episode we're gonna talk about. I chose the title. I picked it, and it's called Iron Sharpens Iron.
Oh, that's good.
Iron. Yeah, we always say iron.
Right.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Right.
And so, you know, that's something that I've heard over the years. You know, many people say iron sharpens iron, right? And typically it's situations where, like, you know, you in a circle of people where, you know, you have, you know, high achievers, you know, and if we all want to be high achievers, then, you know, I've heard the thing where they say, look around your circle, and if you're the smartest person in your circle, then what?
You need to move.
It's time to find a new
another
circle, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So I think it's that very concept, right? It's just another way of saying it.
Yeah.
And also, I think back to when I was a kid growing up in projects. I said before, my mother had this thing. It was like this rod, and I don't know if it was like one that they actually used for sharpening knives, but I've also seen them like in cartoons and stuff
Right.
like that. And so I think I throw back to that. Iron sharpens iron. When you have two knives together, you take those blades and you right, makes you kind of cringe, but at the same time, the effect is to sharpen that blade.
Right.
So iron sharpens
Sharpens
iron.
iron,
Now, of
yeah.
course, we also have stone. You know, you can use stone to sharpen iron as well, right? But that probably wouldn't sound too good. Stone sharpens iron,
Right. Right.
So iron sharpens iron. So that's the whole entire concept with this. And I think when it comes to two of you, I think it kind of epitomizes. I think when I was sitting around really contemplating what would be the best way to title. I think that's the thing that kind of epitomizes our dynamic, right?
Yeah.
As a family and friends and that whole thing. Of course, we're family first and foremost. But I think just over the years, when I look back over time, what has been a net impact of our interactions with you guys, and we hope it's kind of been the same for you as well.
It definitely has been the same. Coming here, going to wherever you guys went to, going to Waukegan, all these different spots that you guys ended up. We stayed closely connected, and the reason why is because, as you mentioned, iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
And it felt good being able to have a conversation with you all, and we're all on the same path. Just things that I would bounce off of you, you would intake understand what I'm saying, and then give me some great positive feedback, which was great, you know. And I don't like being in a circle where I'm the brightest bulb. Being in a circle where you're the brightest bulb, you end up doing things where foolish, you know. And to have someone to be able to say, hey man, nah, that's not good. Or to say, or give you advice, marital advice, or friendships. So iron definitely sharpens iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You got any thoughts about that, Lavinia, or?
I would agree with it wholeheartedly, but there's an additional component to it for me. Melanie and I are the closest family members.
Right.
So the kinship is in addition to the iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
It's the
Yeah.
emotional connection
Yeah.
that I told my husband when we first got married. I'm like, Melanie's gonna stay. Melanie and Marcus is gonna stay like right there as far as I'm concerned for reaching out and treating like family. And I have enough family members to do a variety of things, but Melanie and I slept in the same bed together. So
Right.
it just doesn't get any better than the long-lasting memory of what should I do in this situation? And her asking me and growing up in that from age 2 years old, and as far as remembering conversations, being 2 years old and you can talk and walk. So yeah, that's the additional piece of it.
And so you just revealed my name. The world has never known my name until now, right? And I was thinking about revealing it myself. So everybody knows the podcast as Mel and Me.
Okay.
Right? So I've always introduced myself when you say, hey, it's Mel and Me.
Right. Okay.
So now everybody knows that my name is Marcus.
Actually, never paid attention to that.
Thanks, Lavinia. So, but you got into some key stuff, and of course we're going to delve into that a little bit more as we move along here. So, so let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And the beginning was, this whole thing began when I met you many years ago, when I transferred to your high school, right? And we were actually just talking about this just downstairs, right?
Yes.
Because Jimmy, when he asked, he's like, "What's this? The DU or what is it?" And I look at, show me what you're talking about. When I was like, "Oh, the do." That's when we first met in high school, right? And so we were talking just downstairs, and I actually surprised him. And I thought for many years, as close as me and this lady has been over the years, I thought she knew the story of how I ended up at her high school, sitting next to her in English class in the first place as a sophomore, 10th grade, 14 years old. And she had no idea the circumstances behind how I ended up there. And there were really some really awful circumstances that I came out of, transferring from one high school to her high school. But she was kind of tickled. Everybody was, I guess, to kind of learn what was behind. A little bit surprised. It was somewhat of a violent situation that took place. But nevertheless, destiny would have it. I ended up transferring to the high school that she attended, and I was in the English class with her. Yeah. And it made all the difference in the world, because from what I saw, ultimately, as I got to learn a little bit more, she was pretty highly regarded, by many in the student body. She was quite popular, if you want to put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And there may be people out here who will see this podcast who went to high school with us, be like, "Oh, that's Barbie," right?
Yes.
But yeah, so we met. So what you had to say about that?
So,
just kind of.
As far as us meeting, like, you were very different individual. Like. When you enter the classroom, you enter English class, and the teacher immediately, because class had already started, so the English teacher immediately said, "We don't have an extra textbook. Who wants to share? This is a new student. His name is Marcus." And, I wanted to say yes right away, but no one else said anything. So I was like, he can share with me. And I was like, come on. And I made room on my desk, and fast friends from that moment. But as soon as we sat down, I could tell, like, he wasn't just a regular student. Like, and I gave him a nickname, which I don't know if he wants me to share on camera. I immediately went home and told my cousin, Professor is his name. This I mean, you could just tell he was very intelligent, very perceptive, but he was so quiet. So I was like, I'm gonna introduce him to everybody because they need to know who he is. And I think he was a little shy because he would let me introduce him, but he really wouldn't say anything.
How did you introduce him though? I mean,
I drug him through the screw. Like anytime I saw him,
Yes,
I was like,
right.
okay, Marcus
She
is
did.
there and such and
Alright.
such is there. Hold on. I was like, just step 4 lockers this way and we can meet Edgar or whoever, Renee and LaDuane and Lawrence, like the whole crew that's still cool with me right now.
Right.
Lawrence Perkins, everybody. So yeah, he slowly met everybody, and then it took a while. He transitioned over to band, and that was the only club that I wasn't in at school.
Right.
Absolutely the only one. So he had his own world at that point. But before then, it was like, I'm introducing him to everybody. He's gonna meet my family. I was like, you need to come. I need you to meet Melanie and Tony and just everybody.
Now I can attest to the professional portion because we were watching. Just to spin off a little bit, and I know we're going to get back, but we were watching Jeopardy one night.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, I'm watching Jeopardy, and they were giving the questions, and you'll say, what is this? What is that? And I was like, okay, he's pretty cool. And this is my first interaction with him, meeting him, and about 6 or 7 questions were rip off. And he's like, what is this? What is that? And every one of them is correct. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This dude is
Right.
So I thought, be honest with you,
different.
I thought it was a rerun.
Oh.
And I thought he was kind of like farcing me around,
Right.
that he had saw this before
Yeah.
and had did it, but he was actually busting it out. And I was like, man, okay, this dude.
Because this is when y'all first got together, and we
Yeah.
didn't really know each other.
Right,
We were
right.
just
But
in
I
the
had
same
already
section.
definitely
Exactly.
told him about you.
Right.
Like, he already knew what kind of person you were. And I was like, Melanie has the perfect husband. They're perfect for each other. But I was like, he can teach her some things. And she can teach him some, like, you guys had your own lane. And I was like, this is,
Absolutely.
they're going to be stay together and we can all be just tight.
Okay.
That was a
my
blessing
thing.
with him transferring from the other high school to our high
Absolutely.
school.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
so then that leads me to the discussion about you and Melanie, because you referred to her as your cousin a second ago. Of course, when I first met you, I didn't, and I think a lot of people still to this day who probably know us both from DuSable probably would have never put it together, you and Melanie being relatives, right?
Yeah, because of the age difference.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
Not the same grade.
Exactly.
It
So
made
I
a
was like,
difference.
how's she your auntie and she younger than you? Of course,
Right,
you can
right,
have
right.
somebody
Right,
be younger
right.
than you and be an aunt or
Right.
uncle,
Mhm.
especially
Yeah,
in larger
yeah,
families.
absolutely,
Where
absolutely.
people have kids later on in life,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that kind of threw me off, you know, and I didn't ask any questions at the time and stuff like that. But ultimately, learning after playing in band with Squeaky here,
So where did Squeaky come out?
Claire,
He's on the clarinet.
clarinet
Okay,
player.
all
So
right, okay.
playing the
Uh-oh,
reed,
Reed.
she had
Okay.
a problem. She got to be pretty good. We covered
Okay.
that, but
All right.
Yeah.
she used to squeak a lot.
I
Okay,
did.
all
I
Right.
did.
And so, you know, playing in band with her and then learning that they were related kind of blew me away. And but it was also, I you know, in retrospect, kind of convenient, I guess. Like you said, a blessing transferring there.
Okay.
Yes.
But so give us some insight. Just it's like your relationship growing up, right? Because we were in high school. You were what, 2 years behind me?
Yep.
2
Yeah,
years behind
2
us?
years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know, obviously, our getting together kind of came out of something different, if you will. I
Okay.
guess just us being friends and band
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
Me and Mel.
okay, cousin, aunties.
As far as, I mean, and I don't even know really, and I think it's because we came up with that because your mom, I'm trying to think, how did we even come up with that to even make sense? Because I don't even really know what just
Okay,
came
so
up.
the honesty of it is, although we are first cousins,
Right, exactly.
our fathers are brothers.
Exactly.
blood.
Right, by blood,
Biological
yes.
fathers
Okay.
Right.
are absolute brothers.
Yeah, absolutely.
2 of 3 brothers.
Right.
Okay. But my grandmother adopted you,
Well, she didn't.
and that was the story.
That was the story.
Story,
The
okay.
story was she adopted
So
me. Yeah.
her telling us as little kids, "This is my daughter now, not just your cousin," made you our aunt.
Okay.
Because if grandmother
Yeah.
had children, which
Yeah.
is our
Man, that's a
uncle
lot.
and uncles, you were now also
Oh.
an aunt or uncle.
Oh, okay.
So being a female, that made you an aunt.
Yeah.
So that's how that came to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at the same time, though, you two were kind of like sisters in a sense because you were so close
absolutely were.
in
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
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 It wasn't just the age. It was the circle that was my twin sister Tony and Melanie and me. Like that was
it.
we were the circle within
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah.
How many different family dynamics we had. So that was the sisterhood, and we never really felt like cousins. We
Right.
always only felt like sisters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's always been an interesting dynamic that we've, you know, I don't know the best way to characterize. It's always been a kind of a mystique thing with me. It's like, you know,
Yeah,
just
'cause I remember
interacting in
Right,
our
right.
relationship.
Yeah,
It's like,
You
wow.
seeming really surprised. You're like, your aunt? He's like, how is she your aunt?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuss will
I
kick
actually
in now. You
remember that
start
too.
calculating
I
then
remember
at that
too,
point.
I mean, because I think other people question it too,
They did.
just because of the age
Yeah.
difference.
So what was
Yeah,
you as response to that when people questioned it? What was
I
the
blew him off.
Me too.
Okay.
I never
All right.
really answered
Because
them either.
I never
Okay.
really felt like I needed to explain to them because
Okay.
they were just outside associates. Who are they?
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. I blew it off
Yeah,
too and
yeah.
never answered it.
The only people person I really explained it to was my brother.
Okay.
He was just like, he knew you were there, like always, because he has a separate dad, but he could understand because he saw
Right.
where you came from. Other people didn't know anything. So
I mean, because I really didn't know anything till I was about
yeah, you were much older.
12.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
found.
Well, them being younger,
and
you
then
were-
You and Tony is the one told me.
Yes. They
You and Tony
yeah,
told
they
me.
didn't
Didn't even tell me.
because they didn't really feel the need. It was like you know how it was back in the day. The adults were
Yeah.
the adults and the kids were the kids, and that's the house.
Yeah.
There was no long-winded conversations going on.
So that's
The
another
generation that
reason
we grew
too
up.
why I really didn't.
Yeah,
Just to answer the
but-
question as far as the aunt and
Right,
all of that,
okay.
because I was still
You're
trying to come
trying
to
to-
grips of just finding out.
Understanding
oh,
it, right,
okay.
okay.
But she
Yeah.
still,
Going on.
and I felt like you being the youngest, outside of my brother being so many years behind, you being the youngest, you were kind of treated more like the baby. So the baby didn't have to be privy to all of these long-winded conversations about this or that. It was just you were the kid, you were the youngest.
Because I think I was questioning you and Tony
You did.
about it
You absolutely did.
when the
question.
biological mother.
You did,
And I'm like,
yeah.
some kind of
Right.
sister. What's going on?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, you know what?
Yeah,
Let's go
and
ahead and
it
tell
was
you.
crazy how it came about.
I remember it too.
I know.
I
know.
remember where we were staying and everything.
Yeah.
I
But
remember
it-
the day like it was yesterday.
I remember it too.
Yes.
Because it was a big day, but
It was.
It was a day that my twin sister and I didn't really understand the depth of what you didn't know until that day, because you asked it differently than you had ever asked that question before. And with her being present, with your biological mother being present that day, it kind of made sense to us all at once,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we didn't really understand that you didn't fully understand it. Plus, we were kind of short-winded explanations as we were in our younger years.
Right.
So we didn't really get that you didn't get it.
Yeah.
And then being 2 years older is really, it makes a big difference in terms
Yeah.
of understanding
Yeah.
something. Even if you're only 7 or 8 years old, it still makes a big difference in
Yeah.
understanding versus
Yeah.
talking to a 4 or 5-year-old. So.
Yeah.
So it definitely, I mean, even to this day, of course, and and Jim, I see me and Jim, we just
Right,
sitting
right.
back,
I just
got
said
it
right
right.
because I'm lost. I was going to ask, like, how does it fit in the relative scheme of this?
So because my brother was the absolute baby of the family, and then he has a different biological father, and then when our parents divorced, he went to live with my stepdad's side of the family. So this happened all when he
So
was,
how is it? Because I always look to you because you always break stuff down.
right.
How does he relate? How's his relationship to Melanie?
So it's amazing because he's come out here to visit them.
No, not
On
his
his own?
relationship, but how is he related?
Oh,
Like,
so
what-
It's exactly the same as me. It's no
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
oh, is it
Because
okay?
we all have the
Cousins.
same mom.
Right.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Like my
Cousin.
twin sister,
Gotcha.
my brother,
Okay.
and I
All
always
right.
have this.
Because I was lost. I mean,
Right.
you all going
So
through the
he understood it
the link.
because Melanie was the one who was always like with us. He wasn't always with us
Yeah.
because he was the baby, and they kind of sheltered him to support him.
Because I was
during
there
the
for
divorce.
what, 7 months, 5 months or something, from
Yeah.
my understanding?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very
Yeah.
young age,
Yeah.
very young age.
Yeah.
But it, as we see the dynamic play out just in real time right
Yeah.
in front of us, right? Like you can see that bond, right? Going all the way back to that time, just that whole sister thing, right? And so I think that has like, I even think about like even preparing for this or times when you two are interacting with each other, right? You can, I think what I'm looking to say is, you know each other so well and you have a genuine connection and bond with each other that you can just be real with each other. If something's not sitting right with you, and we've seen it.
Yeah, I can tell you, I saw it in the kitchen. They were downstairs in the kitchen cooking. And remember, I reflected. I said, man, look at what they're doing over there.
Right.
You guys just move lock sync with one another, and you're honest with one another. If something don't look right, you'll say it. Like, man, this don't look right.
Like,
you need to take that off, or this not vibing right. You should do this, and that's good.
But when we were growing up, just like with any other sibling situation, the person you're sharing all your thoughts with is that person.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's your well.
You're right.
You know, that's your camaraderie. That's your instantaneous. This person's loved me since I was born, and you're not gonna just let that go,
Exactly.
no matter how far away someone moves.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're definitely gonna speak about the significance of that as well. So
She was the first one that I told when we got married. She's the only one that I told.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
She's the only
Yeah.
one that I
Okay.
told. She's the only one that
And
knew.
she said, "Don't tell anybody."
And she
And
did.
Did you
I
tell?
didn't tell.
Nobody.
So yeah, that's a good way to segue into the discussion of Mel and Me, I guess,
Absolutely.
because I was thinking about that. I was like, you know, I think back to that time, and when we got married, she moved back home for
Okay.
about 5 months, I think
Yeah.
it was.
Okay.
'Cause I
Season,
came in,
just one season.
Yeah.
I came and got her. I came and
Okay.
got her like around the holidays.
Yeah.
We planned it all out and everything, and we got married, and then she moved back home, and nobody
But
knew
it
that
was
she
so
was married.
exciting, like hearing you guys plan it on the
Yeah.
phone. Because whatever you guys were doing, she still kept private. And that's what I always respected about Melanie. Like, if she has a conversation with you, and you don't even have to say, keep it a secret. Like, if she can interpret that it's private, it stays that way. Like,
That's
she would
good.
only
That's
tell
very
me
good.
just what I needed to know in terms of she's leaving town and when she's coming back, that kind of thing. And so if there's something I needed to do
Yeah.
on her behalf while she was gone. So,
Yeah.
but I was just excited to know that it was happening. I was
But then,
like,
Yeah.
but then
She's
you
on
had
that
to
first
prepare.
one.
But then you had to prepare for her to exit from your
Yeah.
life in a sense,
and
in that physical
it
sense.
was it was profound for
Yeah.
me. Like, I don't know if she even realizes how profound it was. There was a absolute void, but it also put a fire under me. Like, I went full speed ahead, preparing for my husband.
Exactly.
I mean, like, really preparing. Like, there was no more just enjoying youth. Sports, which was my enjoyment.
Right.
It wasn't boys, it was sports. But I was like, I'm preparing for my husband. I'm like, Melanie got her husband. Like, and that's what I had always hoped for you and me and my twin sisters. So,
Was it a teary-eyed leave, like when she said she was actually leaving? How
no,
did that
it couldn't. It was interrupted. The teary-eyed portion that could have happened was interrupted because
They clown.
literally when he came to get her, you know, the two matriarchs of the family
The whole situation.
were stunned and upset that they didn't know prior.
Because I told 30 minutes before I left the house.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
it was very
Okay.
abrupt. It was like an
All right.
elopement, so
Yes.
to speak.
Wow.
Yes,
And,
Okay.
that's how I
Alright.
handled it. Because
Okay.
because I know if I would have said something beforehand, I would have been put out.
Yeah, it was that kind
man,
of.
it's like an episode of Good Times when JJ
Yeah.
got married. You know,
It
he
was crazy,
dipped off
man.
the
I
side,
never forget
right?
when I showed up. I had to get her. It was to move all her stuff
Yeah.
out.
Love how you did it.
Yeah.
Like, you were
Yeah.
parked downstairs.
Yep.
You jacket ready. Her bag was ready. You guys told me it was about to happen, and then so the teary-eyed that would have naturally occurred
Right.
organically we had a more supportive of the situation happening could have occurred. So I had to be like.
But did they have a
I'm with her.
relationship with you though? Was there a relationship with you, or
It was an association.
That's it.
okay.
It was no
Okay.
real relationship. no.
okay?
But I didn't feel any outward hostility from
Right, okay,
from anybody.
yeah.
In fact, most a few people I interacted with were fairly decent,
Decent,
but it was
okay.
kind of somewhat hands off kind of thing. You know?
It was definitely that
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah.
description.
Yeah.
Hands off.
Yeah.
Nobody came down to the car and be like, hey man, you
Oh,
need
no.
to step out the
No.
car, you know.
Because bear in mind, I had been around the family
Okay.
prior
Yeah.
to
Prior to
being
that,
with
right,
Melanie,
right.
prior to marrying her
Okay.
through Lavinia.
Right, because
we've always
right.
Okay.
The friendship was like I'm like, you're gonna meet the family.
Did he ever come over to the house?
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
often.
He
Often
met the
during high
family
school. Okay.
before he and Melanie even became
multiple locations where they
Okay,
lived.
got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
I was always cool with both of them at the same time over the
Okay.
years.
Yeah.
It's just that me and Melanie got together while I was in the military, and after I had stepped into young adulthood and I was
Yeah.
independent.
Got you.
Right.
That's
Okay.
when we connected up and got together on that level.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what it was. And so, like you say, you just spoke to Jimmy, meeting Jimmy ultimately, and so
Yeah.
life.
best decision in my life.
Yeah, and so life
I
led
would
us.
agree.
So it's funny. So, life led us down our path.
Yeah.
Melly and I, we went and did the military thing. I was stationed at ultimately, and then you start walking down your path of education and corporate
Yeah.
America and stuff like that.
Yes,
and
yes.
so, kind of tell us a little bit about your connecting with Jimmy, and we'll bring it all together. How we began to connect.
So
and
do you want me to
where
tell
we
it or
met.
you want
I
Jimmy?
don't
Well,
care
you
which
could,
one
you
of y'all
could,
tell
you
it.
could start
Okay,
it a little bit.
so I think I was in my second year in college. And Jimmy and I knew each other. Both of us and our siblings knew each other.
Yes.
His brother Arnold, my sister, twin sister
Oh,
Tony.
yeah.
We all went to Diet Middle School together.
Now think about this. She was part of the popular crowd. So
So
I wasn't right. So there, you know,
Yeah.
she was pom pom
I was
cheerleader,
all the
Right,
teams,
yeah,
coach,
absolutely.
all the teams.
everything. She was
Yeah.
everything. So her sister,
Yeah.
they were very popular, but her sister was always very
Everybody loved
yeah,
Tony.
everybody.
They did.
Everybody
And she's
loved
very
Tony.
cultural. She was always
Super confident.
talking, always fashion forward, but
Right.
she never neglected to speak. Always spoke everything. So it was a good thing. But go ahead, please.
Okay, so we knew each other from junior high, and then later in high school when we got our first summer job, my twin sister and I reconnected because we had our first summer job with his brother Arnold.
And it was always either she was interacting with my brother or I was interacting with
my
her sister.
Yeah, it was always.
Yeah.
I'm talking about for continuous
Yes.
years. Whether it was just running into, like my sister Tony would say, "I saw Jimmy today,"
Okay.
and she would never say. She said, "I wonder how Arnold's
didn't
doing."
know that.
It's a
And
miracle.
I knew about
It's a
Arnold.
miracle you didn't connect with his brother. And you could
But see,
Yeah,
Arnold, no. See, that would have not
Right,
happened
right, right.
because his brother Arnold has been with his wife
Right,
since he
sure.
was like 12
Okay.
years
Yeah,
old.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and he would wear her name on his shirt. I mean, just
Yeah,
it
she
a
was
whole
always telling me
situation.
how she had her
Yeah, no
name.
matter what job we went
they
to,
dressed alike. I
He
mean,
had a
they were
different
like.
shirt with his wife's name on it,
Yeah.
and he wore it to work.
I
outside.
also grew up in the projects, and they were like the king and queen of the
Yeah,
project.
his brother
so
and
yeah,
his
yeah, right.
and they're
So,
still together
yeah.
to this day.
Right.
To this day,
40
right.
something years later, which is
All right.
awesome. So yeah, so because of the connectivity over the years, like my sister would always mention if she saw him, and she would always have nice things to say. And I don't feel like she was promoting him, but I was one of those people who, ever since I was 12 years old, I was having very detailed conversations with Heavenly Father about what kind of husband I wanted.
Okay.
And I don't know how my sister knew, but whenever she would tell me little things about him, and I'm talking even if she only saw him twice a year over a 5-year period, the little something that she would tell me would be those things that I would ask God for. So she was kind of preparing me. And my sister was somebody I really looked up to. Even though she was only 2 minutes older than me, she acted 2 years
Yeah, she
Yeah.
sure
older
did.
than
I
me.
can
She sure
I can
did.
concur
So
with
I
that.
always
Yes.
looked up to her as a big sister, even though we're only 2 minutes apart. And so one day I'm on the train, and this has never happened before, but the whole car was empty. It was just me and him on the car.
Oh, wow.
He was at
Yeah.
the far end facing that window.
Like a movie.
Yeah, it was.
I was
right,
at the far
right.
end facing
Right.
this window.
Uh,
And, you know, you get this eerie feeling like it's empty. There's no
He was smoking
like,
a cigarette.
Right, right. And I was on
Nobody
guard because
believes
it's
me.
Chicago,
Yeah,
so you
right.
on guard
Right.
right.
So,
Right.
on the train.
you know, I'm studying in my book, and then something just said, close the book. And so I closed the book, and then I turned around, and I couldn't see his face, I just saw the back of his head. But when I tell you, God lifted me up, and I floated to that end of the train. I walked, but I felt like I was floating.
Mm-hmm.
And I had always asked God, I was like, you're going to have to give me an undeniable
sign
mm-hmm. that I can't ignore
mm-hmm.
who the one is for me.
Mm-hmm.
What husband you have prepared for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that had never happened to me before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't romantically experienced at all. But when that happened, and I wasn't going to like crash into, oh my God, this is it, and tell him all this stuff all at once.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew he was somebody I needed to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I sat next to him, because I hadn't seen him in so long and I hadn't seen Arnold in so long,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're related to Arnold.
Yes.
Because I couldn't remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, I couldn't remember his name. Arnold's such a unique name. It was just easy to remember because it was unique.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gave me this look, and he told me, he's like, I get that a lot.
Yep.
Because my brother and I look alike. He's like, are you sure it's me that you know you're talking to right now?
And I did. I
And
was
I
like,
said,
I'm Jimmy, my brother.
Yeah, and he said, I know who you are. You're the twin. You're the Barbie twin. And I was like, okay, so we established that we knew who each other was.
We talked for a little bit.
And then I said, I'm getting off on 51st Street. What street are you getting off on? And he's like, I'm getting off on 51st Street too. We walked downstairs from the train, and we literally, by the time I walked up to him, we were getting off at the next stop. So I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to talk to him. So we went downstairs, we waited for the bus. The bus was not coming. We started walking. He says, which way are you going? I told him. We ended up living on the same street, across the street from each other.
Dang.
So we walked all the way from the train to the block we were on, and then he stopped in front of my house, and we walked and talked for another 2. Like, it was dusk outside by the time we were done talking. And it was like, it wasn't the beginning of us being romantically involved at all.
It was just a conversation.
But I was just
a great conversation.
Right. And,
very good.
And neither of us talked about anything romantic, so I didn't ask him if he had anyone, and he didn't ask me that. But we just had a great
conversation
for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I gave you my number. No, I didn't. We didn't
we
exchange numbers.
exchanged no numbers or anything like that. No DM.
You're absolutely right.
Back then, there wasn't none of that.
Right.
You know, no beef
Right,
exchange.
right.
Right.
Yeah. But we kind of ran into each other a lot more after that. I guess
You actually started riding the bus with my mom.
Oh yeah.
So she started after that. She started riding
the. His mother stayed on the same block too.
Oh.
Like he stayed across the street this way, and his mother stayed next door to us.
And she would be
On the
talking
same
to
block.
my mom about me, not knowing that was
Not
my
knowing
mom.
that was his mom.
Yeah. And she never mentioned my name.
Right.
So she was having conversation with my mom about me every time they got on the bus.
No, not every time. Every day.
Every day.
Because I commuted to college every day.
Okay.
So we caught the same 51st Street bus right at Drug, so every day. And so she's talking. I'm like, I would say to myself, I'm listening and I'm joyfully listening, but I'm like, I've never heard a woman with this number of kids, because she had almost 10 kids, sound this happy about having raised them and still helping them after they're grown.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just stood out. So it was like an epiphany moment was like when I met you. This person's different. This person's doing it. And this is somebody I could really learn a lot from and would enjoy, like, echoing the greatness of what's going on with them.
After my mom found out that you said my name.
Yeah.
And my mom talked me up. Well, she like, man, that's
No, so then she started looking at me like, oh, wait a minute, because then she was wondering, was it a setup?
Right.
No, ma'am, that's not it.
But I will say this, Lavinia has always, as she mentioned, been definite. And so I have to give my spiel of this. Just moving it forward, we started dating. Lavinia was, and you all can attest to this, I'm dating towards marriage. I had never heard that.
Yeah.
I'm dating towards marriage. I was like, man, look, slow down. So every time we would meet, we didn't move too fast. Every time we would meet, we'd go to movies, we would do stuff. One of the things, walks. And what's funny is I hear like on a lot of platforms, people are talking about where they go to eat and things like that. Man, we would sneak food into the movie theaters. And she would put, because I like chicken sandwiches from McDonald's. So she would put the chicken sandwich in her purse. I wouldn't put I wouldn't put it on me, because if they caught me, if they caught her, I would just keep going. Unfortunately, maybe you'd have to take one for the team. Right. So it was that kind of thing. We did a lot of talking.
Yeah, it was really
I can remember falling asleep on the phone. It was crazy. But
Right.
the thing I remember most is her. I think I was, she at the back of my head playing with me because she would always say, I'm dating towards marriage.
But I wouldn't just say it, I would treat you that way too.
Absolutely.
So it wasn't just a declaration like,
Yeah.
okay, as soon as he shows up, I'm going to try to make him move in that direction. My goal with you, because I knew God had showed me you were the husband for me, was to show you what kind of wife I would be
Absolutely.
for you. And it didn't involve us jumping in the bed.
No, oh no, I can tell you that. That way, hey,
Right.
that she definitely, that was not happening.
It was important for me
Right.
so that you knew that I'm not that kind of woman.
Yeah,
Right.
and
And I've never been that kind
well,
of
she
woman.
carried herself that way, and
Sure.
it was an unspoken rule. It was never like when you meet someone who carried themselves in a particular way, you actually start acting accordingly. And so the way you carried yourself made me get in alignment, but it didn't stop me. Like, man,
Right.
is there going to be a time?
So ultimately, you got married, and in that process, though, is how we connected up.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right, because
And
we
I
had
knew
come
you guys
to
were gonna
visit.
be-
We were
Yeah.
at the point where we would come to come back home and visit
Right.
every so often and
The
stuff
thing
like
I
that.
loved about the two of you guys, once I told you guys or showed you guys what Jimmy meant to me in my heart, then you guys showed this inquiry.
Yeah.
Kind of like how parents do, and they're like, well, who is it you're in love with? What's
Right,
going on? And
right.
it's not that you guys didn't know who he was,
Right.
but I just wanted you to know, like, that meant a lot to me.
So for us, it's for us, we have always kept a small circle, almost kind of
Yeah.
like a non-existent circle.
Yeah.
So it's like it was a good fit for us, even though we weren't there all the time. Again, it goes back to that
The connectivity, yeah.
sisterhood and
Constantly
family
calling.
thing
I
that
was
you have and
constantly
stuff like
calling.
that.
Yeah.
But it was cool because, like, for me, I had somebody that I could relate to, and I saw that in Jim, like, immediately. And
Yeah.
plus, he was a fly dude. He was always
Right.
dressed well and stuff
But
like
you guys
that.
had the
and-
military experience to
Yeah.
share too, both
Yeah.
from the Navy.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But we hit it off.
We hit it off
It was
very
like
well.
real
Yeah,
smooth
smooth
sailing
sailing.
from the
Yeah.
very beginning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I just knew it.
And we have over the years, man, from those very moments, developed a pretty strong
Yeah.
brotherhood.
The thing that got me with Mark is again, we go back to iron sharpening iron, was the fact that the brother was very smart. Bro, he was very smart. But then on the music side,
Yeah. So
I don't know if you enlighten that to anybody out here, man. This brother could write
I ain't
a
nobody.
song,
talented.
could write a song in 15 minutes with the hook, the arrangement. He plays all instruments, and I was
Not
like,
well, but
hey, you know
I
what?
don't practice. So I guess if I practice, I'd probably be
I mean,
better.
so
Right.
I would be sitting there, and we'd be talking, and we'd talk to wee hours of the night. Just conversating about life and brotherhood and experiences, and we do that now. I think about it now in our age. I always reflect on our conversations. It's just by force of habit, or being in the military. I reflect on our conversations, and I look back to when we were in our 20s and what we were talking about in our 20s, and now in our 50s. I look at what we talk about. And yes.
I'll give away all the goods today, boy.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Continue, man. Conversations, yes.
But the conversation now is it's different. It's mature. But I look at how it advanced over the time period, and it was great. It was just talking and supporting one another, being there. A lot of times, men cry in the dark. They really don't have anybody that they can talk to because you're raised to always stick up and do this.
Right.
And think about it. When you could be 5 years old, your sister could be 20, and when the father leaves the home, he'll say, "Son, take care of the house." And so, to be able to talk to someone and actually tell them something, like you said, if you told Melanie something, it was in the vault. If I express something to Marcus and I talk to him, he'll give it to me in the real. He'll say, "Nah, Jim, you're wrong about that." You need somebody to say that.
iron.
And that's the iron part of it, where someone would tell you, "Nah, man, you're wrong about that," or "Did you consider this?" or "Did you consider that?" And that's what I really loved about him, is that there was no challenging of the masculinity between the both of us, which is a great
That
thing.
was never even a factor.
Yeah, it was never a factor, and it was never
A measuring contest.
right. And I'll tell you, with us, when we got together, we didn't have Jack.
We didn't either.
Right.
We had a little bit of security, if you will.
But you look, the little bit of security that you had was more than what we had.
Right.
And so I could have looked at it in a way of jealousy, or you could have portrayed it as being, look at us.
Right.
And we never got that out of you all, especially on the Brotherhood side. We never got that out of you.
Sure.
And so I often talk about men having conversation, and it's a jewel to have another brother to talk to uninhibited and not be judged. It's rare to find friendships like that. That's why most men, when they have friends, their friends are 30, 40, and 50-year-old friends. And that's a true friend, where that friend can tell you where you're wrong, or that friend can tell you, celebrate you in your endeavors. Every time I would call him and say, "Man, I sold a spot," or I did this, and he'll say, "Man, Jim, you're doing it." And there was never any jealousy or anything.
Wasn't hating on you.
No hating or anything. Or he'll call me and tell me, "Man, we just did this, or we just did that," and I was like, "Man," and that's that community that you were talking about originally. How it's a great thing to have someone in your circle. Sometimes, I know you opened up with saying that, if you're the brightest bulb in your circle, it's time to move on. But sometimes, in that small circle, they need that bright bulb. So, because, again, you want it to be infectious. And so, just being around Marcus was infectious for me.
Sure.
It changed my life. He infected my brother and everybody's life.
And so you just unpacked a whole lot there, Jim. And so I think that you've just given us an opportunity to cover, to just kind of do a mishmash of all of that you just said there. So, couple things that you put out there that I think about, and I think back even to last week when we were at your place up in Chicago, right? How the two of you being together. And with us being together with their blood bond, and us being the two husbands on either side. However, when you look at the extension of family that has come out of our situation, just us four right here, and last week was a prime example of that. Let's look at, you mentioned your brother Greg, right? So my first professional career opportunity out of the military, and this will go back all the way back to 1999, a little bit more than 20 years ago, is all because of Jim's brother. And it's out of this very relationship. When I got out, I'll never forget when I had moved back to Chicago, when I left my family down in Florida so that I could go find my way in the civilian sector and get established in the corporate world. I had gone back to school and stuff, and I don't even know really how well I really knew you even still at this point. No, you know what? No, we were long family by then. I'm sorry, so I don't want to get it mixed up. I'm getting old now, so my
oh, now you just said that. I didn't say that. The age now. I ain't getting old.
But a situation arose where somehow you knew, because you knew what I was doing, and you somehow put two and two together because of the situation that your brother had in another state, 5 states away, or however far it was. You created a lane, an opportunity for me to link up with your brother, who I didn't know at the time. I didn't really know.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? I knew him, but over the years since that time, I got to know him on a different level.
Right, but what you don't know, and this is just a quick introduction, I have talked about you and Melanie as a unit that are closest to me and family to everyone for years.
Okay.
So even if he didn't know you,
He knew of you.
he knew
He
of
knew
you.
of
Right, right.
Okay.
Because whenever we're sitting together with Greg and Fran to talk, you guys come up in conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so, what that ended up being was a situation where he opened the door for me that I was able to walk through in my first corporate position was
Through my
him
mother.
giving it to me.
Okay.
Yep.
Not giving it to me, giving me an opportunity.
You
know.
sure did.
Right.
And so, and over those years, and from that moment, like I went down there and they put me up. I stayed with them for a while I got,
Oh, you
got
did?
myself
I didn't know
established.
that.
No, just
Okay.
for a short time.
Okay.
Just for a
All
short
right.
time.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
when I went down for the interview
Okay.
and stuff like that, and the other times I needed to kind of plant for a little bit, but ultimately, I worked and reported to him. And just over the years, our bond just continued to grow from there. Of course, he bailed on me after about six months after my being down there. He decided to go in a different direction. And ultimately start his own business and do stuff, doing quite well. Awesome. But my point is that not only Greg, but the rest of your family.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've gotten the opportunity. We have gotten the opportunity
Yeah.
over the years,
Yeah.
right, because
Yeah.
of your union, to
Yeah.
spend time at your different family members'
spots,
homes
yeah.
and stuff like that,
Absolutely.
right, and get to know
Absolutely.
them,
Yeah.
right. And so it's just always kind of been neat. Like when I take a step back and look at it, it's like, okay, I'm this guy over here. They're blood relatives.
Relatives.
You're the husband over here,
Yeah, right.
but yet we have a relationship with your family who's attached to you on that side.
after that, yeah.
And for me, because like Beanie said, our family was small. We're not close with a lot of them. That's
Okay.
just honestly speaking.
Yeah, okay.
So I think to have that, seeing you with your family, you have a large family, but you guys are also close.
Yeah.
So to be able to share in that,
Yeah.
like every Thanksgiving, I think that's really awesome. So
I love it when you guys come.
Yeah,
It
that's just
it plumes
awesome.
out. My brother and I, we speak about it quite often about Thanksgiving. I enjoy that time period when it comes around because the last thing that took place was, we do a traditional, as you all know, we do a traditional prayer. We stand around and everyone has to say what they're thankful for. And this year, it was excellent to hear some of the thankful declarations that people were giving out, which was excellent. I thought it was, it showed that the connectivity with the family and people started getting more comfortable and let their hair down. And with each year, the hair came down. Each year, the hair came down, and I love it. I mean, as you were saying, Marcus, is the extended family, knowing your brothers, and coming in with your family. Although I knew you all's family, I knew Tony and Lavinia, but then getting connected with her, then came out with the other siblings and that are distant siblings, connecting with your brother, and now
And him being so many years younger, it
right.
took a little bit longer for him to come into the fold.
Yeah.
Nearly 10 years is
So
a long time.
I think people
Yeah.
play down the connectivity when you get married and what you're marrying into.
Yeah.
Not to give any, advice on who you marry into and that kind of thing. Sometimes that thing can be beyond someone's control. But I think this has been a blessing for
Absolutely.
us.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you can attest. For us being able to be in a family, to extend our family into you all's family, and to you all's children, and then being able to be there because the foundation. It's it's like a house. This family is foundational.
And one of the other beautiful things is that you alluded to earlier. Is I like to look at it. There's a certain level of camaraderie that we have with each other. I mean, we have great times together all the time. And it's camaraderie without competition.
Yeah.
And that's something that you spoke to earlier.
Yeah.
And you gave the example of what you do in real estate.
Yeah.
Been doing this stuff for years. I've seen you at the mountaintop.
Yeah.
I've seen you in lower times.
Yes.
You know, as far as that go. But you know,
There was never
any.
he thought he was this, because think about it, if you were in competition with me, then you would be saying, you would be gloating on my, you know, on anything that changed up with me, and I never got that from you.
And in fact,
or from any of you.
And in fact, that when I got my real estate license a couple years ago, who you think that was playing in my mind the entire time is Jim. And of course, I've leaned on you here and there, you know, since getting that license. If I can just get some of your business, I'd be all right. But yeah, man, it's like, you know, I can sit and I watch you do these things, man, and I may not always say anything, but I'm learning, right? And it's inspiring to me as well, because it kind of still gives me some hope, even though my road has been non-existent in that particular space.
Right.
I got other stuff going on.
Absolutely.
But but I can still look to you as a model, and I can applaud your success and everything that you do, because I've seen you to where, man, you like a one-man wrecking crew in this thing.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need nobody.
No.
See what I'm saying?
Appreciate that.
And
Much appreciated.
not many people can boast that. But you know, so you just keep pushing, man, and I just look at, like, we're all moving into, we're also in a new chapter of our lives. Right? We're all empty nesters now. We got no more kids. It's been a few years since you haven't had a kid, right?
Well, I would say what Lavinia and I, people talk about empty nesting. One of the things we did was, when our kids got into high school, freshman year of high school, typically at freshman year, that's when kids kind of break away from you. They're not looking at you to, you know, to wipe their nose or do all these different things. They're kind of like on automatic. And that's when Lavinia said, you know what, we need to start dating each other again. That's what happened. So we started dating each other again. Lavinia is about the kids. You know how they say Wu-Tang for the kids? Lavinia for the kids.
Right.
You know, so we started dating again, and it was a beautiful thing. And the kids started understanding that, okay, they were on automatic pilot. And so we just started doing things and making sure that we were there for one another, going on date nights and doing all these different things, because you can wake up and be next to
ships passing
in the night and not even know, because you didn't take the time to stop, slow down, and appreciate it. I always say, and I'm going to just backtrack a little bit about what I love about my wife, and and Melanie is the same way, and I guess it's that circle. I'll jump out the window out of a 20-story building, and with no parachute, no nothing, and I'm figuring out things as I'm going down. Okay. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Lavinia will jump after me. She'll jump right after me. That's the love she has for me. She'll jump right after me. But the thing about her is, she gonna throw the parachute.
I'm kind of looking at you. Do you agree with that, or
okay? And she would throw. But here's the thing: she would throw the parachute up, but she would grab me and have the parachute up and allow me to look and do different things. And that's someone who is not
supportive,
right. And Mel, I'll say the same thing with you, with Marcus. Marcus has taken in a lot of different ventures. He's done a lot of different things, and you've always been that rock. And in today's climate, to have a rock. Now, I guess it's going against the iron sharpen iron, but I'm gonna use this rock analysis. Is that rock is so great. I mean, you guys could do a podcast on financing. I remember being with Marcus and him saying he's counting the nickels and he's doing certain stuff, and he's like, man, Mel gonna be on such and such and such.
It's like she's in the room,
right?
And she's making a financial decision.
It's like
I remember he would talk to us,
right.
he would say, okay, well, here's what we decided, and we have to move in this direction. I can't just arbitrarily do like how you guys are doing this, because we have this plan and I'm following this path of what we decided together. And I'm like, It is like Melanie's in the room. She's in the room.
Yeah.
When you were in Chicago
Sure.
for a
Yeah.
spell.
I got you. Yeah. I got you. Yeah.
You
I know
remember?
something. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and it was during the time when I moved back up there to
And
try
you
to.
were doing stuff with Greg.
Absolutely.
And you
Yeah.
were in Chicago for a
Yeah.
hot second. You were like, no. That's not how we work.
But you know, the whole thing is very interesting because again, it's allowing me to reflect on really what our bond is. We
Yeah.
feed off of each other.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure we watch each other.
Yeah.
You know, we take advice from
That's
each
from
other.
each
We give
other.
advice to
Absolutely.
each other.
Absolutely.
And it's just, I think it is a beautiful thing. And, you know, we continue to strive in this next chapter of life without these kids. And so,
Yeah.
you know, and the good thing is about it, I think we've all reached the point now where we're in somewhat of a better financial position than we were
Yeah,
compared to
yeah.
many years ago, right?
Yeah.
So just like y'all hop on the plane
but
and
we
fly
were
down
all
here
in
last
still
night.
happy times.
Huh?
Happy times when we didn't have as many resources
Yeah,
as
yeah.
today. Like
Yeah.
that's that authentic love,
Uh-huh.
authentic relationship,
Sure.
authentic bond.
And so
Because
we
it wasn't based on that.
Yeah, so we find ways, and we have to find ways, and I look forward to us having the opportunity to spend more time, you know, together
Yeah.
and stuff,
Yeah.
whether it be us
Yeah.
there or you here or us both in Johannesburg, South Africa
Right.
together,
Yeah, you keep mentioning that.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think I think we have a lot of stuff ahead of us that we're going to be able to accomplish and just enjoy each other's time and continue just to motivate each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and inspire each other.
Do you guys find that this time in your life, being empty nesters, that the taste of it is better than it was, than it ever been? Like now it tastes. I can taste all the seasoning. I can taste all the ingredients of just being with my wife and appreciating all the things that we at some, not saying that we took it for granted, but you do take things for granted because you got the kids, you're working, you're doing all these different things, and so now without all the hustle and bustle of being an empty nester, you can actually see a lot of the fruits that you didn't get to taste because the kids were always there. You got the bite off of it. Now I get to bite and eat the whole fruit. You know?
In a sense, I don't know about Melanie, but for me to be totally honest, it's quite an adjustment. To me, it's hard to break away from that.
Yeah.
You know, and it could be because
I agree.
of our situations, particularly with our son and stuff like that. So I feel like that's a bit of a, I don't want to say hindrance, not a hindrance, but it's a factor.
Okay.
Right, and so
Yeah.
it's a little bit, and to be totally honest, man, the one thing, you know, that I've always really enjoyed being is a father to my two kids.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's, and especially with him, and it might be again because of his situation. I kind of feel a different level,
Okay.
you know, of attachment there. But it's difficult for me, man. You know, but I imagine I will adjust at some point. You know, especially as he moves further along in his growth and development and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm gonna keep it real.
See, Marcus,
It's
what
a
Marcus
little
just
bit more
said
tough.
was, I was like, hey, man, okay, get out.
But I will
Right.
tell you this. But I will tell you this. It does help when I look at situations like this that's manifesting like
Yeah.
right now, right?
Okay.
So it's I think being around you guys a little bit more so, having the opportunity to consider those things, I think it does help a little bit with moving us into that direction.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I mean, because I'm always just concerned, you know, for my boy. You know, so that's always going to be in the back of my mind. But I think the difference with us versus you guys is, remember, we had two households for a long time when he was, you know, working in another state, and so
And gone to the military.
and then in the
so,
military,
Being
so
gone.
you know, so you get
Right.
for me was kind of used to
To
it,
it,
just
okay.
being me, you know, just me and, you know, the
Right.
daughter, you know, that type of thing. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, you know, yeah, you know, we here or whatever. Okay,
Right,
this
right.
it's fine, but like you said, eventually we'll get there. But I'm just
That may be how you phrase it, but it's never just been you.
yeah,
You know what I
you know, but I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah.
in the physical sense.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Physically here, you know, he's in another state, I'm in another state, you know, so that went on for a little bit, and so you kind of have to get adjusted to that. So it's just like, okay, I'm not saying that's the situation now, and that's not my mindset now, because I mean, obviously we're in the same household together, but like you said, I think this the main thing is the boy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And he is the youngest, so
Yes.
the baby it's going to be a little tougher.
What about you,
Yeah.
Miss?
Well, I kind of relate more to how Marcus feels.
I
and I knew
definitely
my
would
husband
agree.
was going to say that because he's constantly, well, not I won't say constantly. Every now and then he'll remind me, he'll say, those boys are grown. Like,
Yeah.
what is it you're telling me we're about to do?
Right.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so I'll adjust, and I have to find ways to adjust, still being their mom, but not doing anything to hinder, like my husband says, we're raising adults, young adults, and you can't baby them. You can't do things the way you did when they were much younger. So I love that I still can, like I said, I kind of relate to more how Marcus feels about it. I'm still very attached to being a mom. Being a wife and mother are the most important roles I've ever had in my life. I still find tremendous joy in it, no matter how old anybody gets. I truly feel like it's what God made me for, and I'm going to act that way for the rest of my life. Period. Point blank. But as far as it gives me the energy and the need to just be a little more creative in how I do things for them as young adults. But I don't think I have to let it go. I just have to be creative and allow that independence for them. You know.
I think you're doing a very good job at it. I think you're doing a very good
There's
job.
3 of them, and they're adults. However, I'll never just take off the mom hat and not be that, because I just
Yeah,
get
I don't
much,
either.
I get too much joy from pouring that love.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, so I mean, I definitely hear that, and we just again, it just goes back. There's so much more that we could probably get into. We could probably sit in front of these microphones all night and talk about different stuff.
But parenting for us, and I think this is something that's unique with the 4 of us, is it's a whole different avenue from the fact of how we were raised is very different than how we raised them. There's a lot more opportunity that we've been able to provide, just simply because our parents couldn't afford certain things or didn't have the wherewithal or the time and energy to do things because they were struggling under different, much more difficult scenarios. And so for us, I think it's not only working hard to provide, but reveling in the fact that look at this opportunity that they have, and then guiding them to make sure they're making the most of it. Like, it's so loaded. It's not just parenting for us.
Right.
It's not just long-standing 30-plus year marriages for us.
Right.
It's the enjoying what is going to become of the seeds,
fruits.
that we created, and still knowing that we are healthy enough to support them and have the resources to support them and have the love to support them. Like, it's gonna be so amazing for them. And so I think that's part of that loaded feeling of still wanting to be there, because we still got a lot more guidance to give.
I can definitely say that it's made all the difference. Over the years, when you look at it doesn't matter the time, the distance. I mean, we've maintained our relationship solid this entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about going
How
all
many
the way back
years?
to high school.
How many years is
You're talking going all the way back to
14 years old.
1984.
14 years old.
So we're almost talking
That's
40 years.
Almost 40 years.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years, right?
Yeah.
And there's never been a riff.
Right.
Ever.
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 And that's real.
And and it's like we one of our earlier episodes, we were covering something. Jimmy scratching his neck over there. No, I'm just
Right.
But we made a comment on one of our early podcast episodes about how we structure our life, and when we're talking finances and stuff like that. And I remember us saying how if we ever found ourselves in a situation like, who could we really turn to? We were talking about the struggle when we were coming up on the struggle, and why we kind of approach things the way we do to this day, because you don't really have, typically you can only rely upon yourself. But at the same time, I altered the statement, and when I think about it in this moment, I can honest to God say for a fact that I know for a fact that if it's like, as far as you two are concerned and our lives, Melanie and I's go, you know, I can honestly say that if we find ourselves totally down and out,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean,
We
totally
got
down and
y'all.
out.
We got y'all.
It's like,
Yeah.
who could we
Right.
turn to?
Yeah.
And
Right?
that's it.
And there's one, and I said this on that podcast. I say there's probably one entity that we could look to, that if we totally find ourselves
Yep.
down and out in life, that we would have somebody
Oh,
to
yeah.
to undergird
Without
us,
a doubt.
right?
Absolutely.
And that's you guys. And
Oh,
I'm
without a
talking,
doubt.
you know, I think in terms, and I'm not necessarily saying like money or whatever,
Right.
right? Because we've both been fortunate to, no matter what we found ourselves over
yeah.
the years, that we've been okay,
Yeah.
for the most part, right? And we haven't really been down like that. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
But if we found ourselves, I'm talking, we needed some place to live, to
Yeah.
stay,
Yeah.
whatever. We could show up at your doorstep in the middle of the night
Right.
in a blizzard, right?
Yeah.
And there would be no question.
Yeah.
There would
Right.
be no, oh, let me think about
Right.
that. Let me check this such and such and such and such. You know, I got this going on or whatever. You
Right.
all would find a way,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Yeah.
To look out for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And I know that to be absolute fact. And I don't think there's, I honestly don't think, and you can probably
Then
contemplate the
I
same
have
thing
no
at
one
this
else
point.
that I
like,
can call.
that-
I have no one
that-
else that I can call.
that we-
No one else that I can call. Let me look at no one else that I can call. Yeah.
Well,
I'm
but you know,
serious.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, but seriously though, yeah, I know that there would be. I'm talking just that 100%. Like I said, and that's I want to preface it with that. That just no questions whatsoever. You'd find a way, and then we figure out a way between us
Yeah.
to get moving forward,
Yeah.
because that's the type of relationship that we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
and we've always had,
Yeah.
and because we
Very true.
relate to each other and we
Understand
understand
each
each other,
other. Yeah.
right? There's,
Yeah.
and so it
But
it's,
you know
it's
what?
a special thing.
A lot of that too comes from our dynamic.
And the same
Right.
with
And
us.
that's-
you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We feel that way about you. We really do.
The dynamic of understanding
The relatedness.
the relatedness with you all, you know, and that's a good thing. Knowing that if you all hit something like that, it had to be something. Because and Lavinia and I, we talk about it all the time. You guys can do a podcast on financing. You guys, you know, y'all really get down.
Cream of the crop.
Right.
We did one on financing.
You did?
The mess
Okay.
with financing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was-
I'm talking about the finance.
You
Talking
could,
about
you
like
could run a
period.
podcast like
Right, you can run a
episode.
podcast
You can-
on how you get down.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
if something like that occurred, it had to be, and not that we need an excuse for it,
Right.
Right.
but because how responsible you all are,
Yeah.
and it's reciprocated the same way. You guys, if we showed up, we know
Absolutely.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
That hey, you would move over. Hey, here you go. Take this, and you
Right.
start breaking stuff out and doing this,
Right.
and the whole nine. So, and again, I go back to what we said earlier in that having a circle like this and a family connectiveness like this is paramount. You can't find it all over. You know,
Heaven sent.
and it's a great thing. Just with the children. The connectivity with the children.
Yeah, they have a close relationship too.
If,
About
if
that.
either of them showed up and your child was here and none of us was here,
Right.
and they showed up because of the tree they fell off of, they would extend that arm, and so that's a great thing about family. That's what I love about our connectiveness. That we can call out the blue. Hey man, what you doing? Man, I'm chilling. We on links together, and we talk all the time. And so, this, as Marcus, as you alluded just a few minutes ago, there's so many offshoots of this conversation that we have off that not even here before we came here and talked on this cast. We had conversations, and our conversations last for a while and get very intricate, which is good food for the soul.
Yep.
Yeah, but to even take it just a little bit further, like I said, I just want to even speak about I think the great relationship just with the cousins, with our daughter, with your sons, and when we were there for Thanksgiving, it was so funny when, she called with her guy. Immediately your sons were questioning, well, who is he?
Right. Right.
Tell us about him.
Right.
Wanted to see him.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Automatically showing that, concern.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
she good. We want to make sure.
Right.
Let us check everything
out.
out.
Yeah.
You know, you just really don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it doesn't
Doesn't-
occur,
Right,
yeah.
but I think that that's important that we
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
that to extend it down, and that's another reason too why we. Even though daughter wasn't able to come, why we still bought the boy. You know, again, to be around family, to help him to understand if something, God forbid, was to happen to us,
Who can you turn
who
to?
can you turn to?
Yeah.
So he needs to be able to know, not only just hear people's names, but see them and then form those
them to it.
relationships
Yes.
as well.
Absolutely.
With being around
I
them.
would
So
agree.
that's important to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, 'cause
another
Jimmy-
reason
Jimmy
why
and I
we
have
do it.
called, in the car and talked to him on the phone, and he always answers and raps with us. So
Right.
yeah, so that's there too. And even though you know, the kids are off gaming, doing their own little thing, the respect is always given and the attention's always given when we do show up. You know, there's an age
Yeah.
difference, and they think
Yeah.
of us as the older folk in the family. However,
Yeah. That's
that,
true.
that recognition is there, and I know it's because the same as us, we talk about you guys all the time. You guys must mention us,
Yeah.
otherwise
Yeah.
it would be foreign and kind of offsetting.
Right.
For
Right.
them to be like, you want me to pay attention to who?
Right. When you just said this about them, see, that's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Right.
You just said this about them, and now you want me to be that. So none of that has
Yeah.
ever occurred, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, and
good.
it lended to that meshing before they could even really spend the hours together.
Sure.
Absolutely.
That they've been able to do via text or however else they're communicating.
So so we appreciate y'all. You know that.
yes.
And
appreciate you guys, too.
we enjoy all the times that we have together. And it is when I reflect on it, it is pretty amazing that I was just thinking the other day, has there ever been like really an extended period of time where we didn't communicate over the years? And I don't think there ever really has been.
I'm
There may
going
be
to
some
call.
weeks or whatever that
Yeah.
go by, whatever,
Right.
you know.
I'm going to call.
But but I'm just thankful
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing more, a lot more that we can say, but I think we kind of got things
Yeah,
covered,
yeah.
y'all.
I think so. I
And
think so.
iron
This was
definitely sharpens
fun.
iron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this was fun.
So we gonna get ready to wrap it up, everybody out there.
Yes.
And so we're gonna spend the rest of the time that they have here enjoying their time, and
Yes.
and until next time, as we like to say, at the end of the day, it's
Mel.
and me.
Well, you might have to say
And
Jimmy.
And Lavinia.
that's right. So it's us this week.
Yeah,
Right.
But we wanted to and so hey, and this has been
The podcast.
Later.
Holla.
Y'all want to do a holla? She likes to do holla all the time.
Holla back.
All right, y'all. Take care.
All right.
Bye.